At puberty, a woman has about 400,000 primordial follicles, each of which contains a primary oocyte surrounded by a single layer of granulosa cells. After puberty, 5 to 12 primordial follicles develop into primary follicles.
When the ovary releases a ripe egg, or ovum, inside the ovary are hundreds of thousands of follicles. Each follicle is a hollow ball of cells with an immature egg in the center.
The first miracle of creation begins in a woman's body, in the organ called the ovary, with the maturing of a single egg cell.
A primordial follicle consists of an oocyte surrounded by a single layer of squamous granulosa cells. A primordial follicle becomes a primary follicle as the granulosa cells become enlarged and cuboidal. During ovulation, the oocyte is released from the follicle, along with some surrounding granulosa cells of the cumulus mass, called the corona radialis.
The fimbriae lifts off the expelled oocyte for potential fertilization.
Day 14, luteinizing hormone causes the follicle to undergo a sudden growth spurt. Right before ovulation, the egg detaches from the inside of the follicle. The bulging follicle releases chemicals, causing one of the two fallopian tubes to move in closer and surround the follicle. The follicle swells until it bursts open, ejecting the egg and fluid from the follicle into the abdominal cavity. In response, the fimbriae, tiny projections at the end of the fallopian tube, sweep across the ovulation site and pick up the egg.
The egg is obliged to travel the whole of the fallopian tube, but it has no organelles to help it to do this, no fins or feet, for instance. For this reason, a special system has been created for the egg's journey. These cells position the tiny hairs on their surface, called cilia, so that they lie in the direction of the womb. In this way, they send the egg cell in the correct direction. Consider this for a moment. These tiny hairs are part of a highly intelligent plan and have been situated just where they need to be, in just the shape they need to be. All of them together, they perform a carrying motion in a unified direction.
It lifts off the expelled oocyte for potential fertilization.
One day after fertilization, the embryos are observed under the microscope. If fertilization has occurred, a single cell is seen containing two nuclei, male and female. Two days after puncture, the embryo divides itself and contains two cells with one nucleus per cell, which in turn starts to divide into an embryo of 4 cells if its development is optimal. 3 days following puncture, the embryo starts to divide and consists of 8 cells if its development is optimal. On day 4, the embryo divides a number of times, becoming a morula. This is when it begins to become compact. On day 5, the embryo contains more than 100 cells. In the center, there is a fluid-filled cavity. Finally, the blastocyst will shed the membrane that surrounds it. This is called hatching.
ಜ್ಞಾನದೀಪ್ತಿಯ ಬೆಳಗುವ ತೈಲವಾದೆಂದರೆ ಜ್ಞಾನದೀಪ್ತಿಯ ಬೆಳಗುವ.
At this stage, then, I'd like to draw your attention to the inside of the blastocyst, where there are cells called the inner cell mass, which I'll be abbreviating as ICM. Those are the cells that make the entire animal, and the outer cells give rise to the placenta and other supporting tissues. At this stage, the embryo implants into the wall of the uterus. This is when a pregnancy is really initiated. And now we'll see those blue inner cell mass cells form a disc, and then as the cells continue to grow, they change their physical positions, their kind of geographical relationship to one another. And you'll see that represented here as this disc gets transformed into an embryo. Those lines represent sites where cells are migrating in and out. And here's an important stage when the 3 beginning layers of the embryo, the so-called germ layers, are formed, and I'll come back to that in a few minutes.
Has formed 3 specialized tissues or germ layers called ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm.
ಶಿವನಾಗಿ ಶಿವನ ಪೂಜಿಸು ಮನವೇ, ಶಿವ 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 ಶಿವ.
Ectoderm gives rise to numerous structures, including the brain, spinal cord, nerves, skin, nails, and hair.
ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಪದವಿಯನುಲ್ಲೆ ವಿಷ್ಣು ಪದವಿಯನೊಲ್ಲೆ ರುದ್ರ ಪದವಿಯನೊಲ್ಲೆ ಬುಧರಿಗೋಲಾಯ್ತು ಅಂಬಿಗ ತನುವೆಂಬ ಸಾಗರ.
Gives rise to the whole gut tube. There you see the lung, the liver, the intestine.
Endoderm produces the lining of the respiratory system and digestive tract and generates portions of major organs such as the liver and pancreas.
ಬಯಲು ಮೂರ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ನಿಂದನೊಬ್ಬ ಶರಣ, ಬಯಲು ಮೂರ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ನಿಂದನೊಬ್ಬ.
ಶಂಕರ ಶಶಿಧರ ಗಜ ಚರ್ಮಾಂಬರ ಗಂಗಾಧರ ಹರ, ಸುಂದರ ಸ್ಮರಹರ ಗೌರಿ ಮನೋಹರ ಜಯ ಪರಮೇಶ್ವರ.
Mesoderm forms the heart, kidneys, bones, cartilage, muscles, blood cells, and other structures.
All this time, the brain continues its lightning evolution as it prepares to take charge of the entire range of human functions.
The human brain controls all the bodily functions and works like a network that releases
ತುದಿಯ ಕೊಡಗದಂತೆ ನೇಣ ತುದಿಯ ಬೊಂಬೆಯಂತೆ ಆಡಿದೆ ನಯ್ಯ ನೀನಾಡಿಸಿದಂತೆ. ಆನು ನುಡಿದೆ ನಯ್ಯ